Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda and I'm so glad that you could join me today. Today's episode, we're going to talk about a holiday that's coming up that is unfortunately frequently misunderstood. We're going to be talking about Memorial Day. So, hold on to what you think you know about Memorial Day and let's take a deeper dive. So Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States of America that is on the last Monday in May. But first of all, it was not always called Memorial Day. Second of all, the date of Memorial Day has actually changed over time. And third of all, the purpose of Memorial Day is frequently confused. Many people view Memorial Day as the unofficial start to summer, which weather-wise, yes, that would be accurate, but that's not the intention behind Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a day that is reserved and honored to remember those service members who lost their life fighting for a war. So their life ended while they were serving in a war. Okay? Now, frequently people will get Memorial Day and Veterans Day confused. Veterans Day is when we thank people who have served, but they're still living. Okay? There's also Armed Forces Day, which is confusing for some because they think it's all the same. It's not. Armed Forces Day is used to acknowledge and thank and appreciate those that are actively serving. So if you're currently serving in the military in any branch, Armed Forces Day is when you are recognized, appreciated, things like that. If you have served, then you're going to be recognized and appreciated on Veterans Day. Okay, Veterans Day is in November. Armed Forces Day is in May. I believe it's the third Sunday in May. Okay, and then you have Memorial Day. If you died serving your country in a war, then you are remembered on Memorial Day. Memorial Day is the last Monday in May. Okay, and different things happen on each of those days. Veterans Day schools a lot of times will have veterans, people who have previously served in the military or who are currently serving, they'll come and they'll share their experiences. On Memorial Day, a lot of communities have parades. The VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, or the American Legion will have a ceremony of some sort acknowledging, typically at any cemetery. So they will decorate the gravestones of those that have passed during the war and acknowledge and appreciate them through that. And there's typically a speech or something. At minimum, I believe there is a gun salute and the playing of taps, which is just a kind of common thing that happens at a military funeral. Now, on Armed Forces Day, so the active military, there's not a whole bunch that people do. It's a newer holiday that people are still kind of figuring out what to do. Sometimes if you know people who are in the service, you will say or do something to show them appreciation. There are certain deals I believe they can get at like restaurants and things like that, but that's different. Now, some people also confuse Labor Day with Armed Forces Day and Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Labor Day is basically for anyone who is currently in the labor force. And that's in September, okay? So that doesn't really have a lot to do with the military. But today we're going to focus particularly on Memorial Day. Memorial Day was not called Memorial Day the entire time. It actually started as Decoration Day. And this occurred after the Civil War in the United States of America. They would decorate the graves to show homage and appreciation for soldiers that passed during the war. So it was called Decoration Day. And that was something that was pretty consistent. The South did do different things as far as how they would decorate it, depending on what type of soldier it was. If it was if it was a Union soldier or a Southern soldier, they would do different things. I'm sorry, Union or Confederate soldier, they would decorate the graves in different fashions. But it was called Decoration Day for a long time. It wasn't until 1971, which is about 10 years before I was born, that it was finally recognized as a federal holiday. And so on Memorial Day, don't look for the mail because you're not going to get any. On Memorial Day, don't expect to go to the bank because it's not going to be open. It's a federal holiday. And it wasn't until then that they made that switch. Now, Memorial Day, if you recall, is to honor those that have died during the war. And it was called Decoration Day and actually started right after the Civil War. The Civil War had more casualties than any other war that America was involved in, just counting American soldiers, in any other war. Looking it up, actually, the Civil War had more than 620,000 casualties. Huge number. Such a huge number, I can't even begin to comprehend that. World War II came in second place for the most casualties with 405,399 casualties. World War I, or the Great War, was 116,516 casualties. To think that every one of those numbers is actually a life, a brother, a sister, a father, a child of someone, just makes it even more difficult to comprehend. That's a crazy amount of lives. The Vietnam War is the fourth most deadly war, if you want to call it that, has the most casualties. It had 58,209 casualties. Number 5 was the Korean War with 36,516. The Revolutionary War had 25,000 casualties. The War of 1812 was 20,000 casualties. The Mexican-American War was 13,283 casualties. The War on Terror is 7,078 casualties. The Spanish-American War is 2,446. 2,446 casualties. I live in a small town in Wisconsin. 2,446 individuals is half of my town. I can't imagine that over the course of a war, half of the individuals that are in my town would cease to exist. The Gulf War had 258 casualties. These are big numbers that is difficult to wrap your head around. But each of those numbers represents an individual. So Memorial Day is not just about having cookouts and watching a parade or having a day off of work to go boating or camping or whatever you do. It's about pausing and showing gratitude for these individuals who gave a sacrifice that we can't even begin to comprehend to ensure that we are free to exist, to enjoy the day, to love those around us. They gave their lives for us. So many people will attend a parade or decorate a gravestone or attend a service to show their appreciation. Some will even purchase a little red flower called a poppy that frequently the VFW and the American Legion will sell. Now, why a red poppy? Well, it actually began in 1920 when they noticed that after a terrible battle, the next spring, even in this harshest conditions where the land was soaked with blood because it was such a terrible battle, these little red flowers, these symbols of growth and resiliency that would push through even the hardest times, began to grow. And people took that to mean that even in something awful, like war, there is a chance for people to do great things. There's a chance for people not to forget the sacrifice that many gave. There's a very famous poem called In Flanders Fields. And it's about a field near Belgium. And I would read the poem, but I would not even do it justice. But a little bit of it is, in Flanders fields where poppies grow, between the crosses, row on row. Okay, so it's talking about that there were all of these deaths in this battle scene. And yet, these poppies begin to grow. They give this hope for life to come, that something good is going to come out of this. Don't give up. It's not done yet. So the VFW and the American Legion will sell poppies. Now, whether you wear that on your clothing, on your lapel, whether you tie it to your purse, some people turn them into earrings. Some people will put them on their rear view mirror in their car, things like that. The poppy as a symbol that is widely recognized for Memorial Day. And it's to remind you to not forget, to not give up hope, to not give in, to persevere. That's the poppy. So, when you're out there celebrating your Memorial Day, if you see a person from the Veterans of Foreign War or VFW, if you see someone from the American Legion and they're selling a poppy, I strongly encourage you to purchase one to help serve as a remembrance that you appreciate the lives that have been lost to preserve your freedom. To take time to thank the individuals who gave so much so you could have a great life. I wish you a great summer, and I wish you a very meaningful Memorial Day. Bye-bye.